Made it.
Recordings are started. I was
Now being 7 o'clock, I call to order the April 9th, 2026 meeting of the Pendleton Planning Commission. Do roll call here. Commissioner Hudson.
Here.
Commissioner Popol. Here. Commissioner Mueller. Here. Commissioner Hatfield. Here. Commissioner Merrier is absent. Commissioner Smoots is absent. And Commissioner Curran is here. We have a large crowd with us this evening. Been unusual for the last several weeks and months, but I'll make this time available for community discussion. This part of our agenda is for comments and topics not scheduled elsewhere on our agenda. A time limit is set for 3 minutes for individual speakers. Maximum time for public comments under this agenda is for 15 minutes. Do we have anybody with us this evening that would like to speak on a topic that's not on our agenda this evening? Seeing none, I will move on to our consent agenda. We have the minutes from our March 26th, 2026 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review? Are there any additions or corrections?
I do have one correction.
Staff?
Yes.
Julie?
For the bar height conditional use, that's 2601. And then it should show that we did receive neutral testimony, or at least testimony from Pacific Power.
That was in regards to them being notified of activity happening prior to, okay.
Yes. I believe they were neutral, as they've stated they had no issue. However, they wanted notification, so I would call that neutral.
Okay. I'll move that we amend the minutes to include a note that Pacific Power testified neutrally on the topic of CUP 2601. And that they be notified of activity happening at that site.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any objection, say aye. Hearing none, motion passes. Any other additions or corrections? All right, entertain a motion to approve then.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
I will second it.
Moved by Commissioner Hatfield, seconded by Commissioner Popol to approve the minutes of March 26, 2026 as amended. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Public hearings. We will begin this evening with AMD 26-01 zoning change request. Do we have any ex parte contacts or conflicts on this regard? Commissioner Hudson?
No.
Commissioner Popol?
No.
Commissioner Mueller?
No.
Commissioner Hatfield?
No.
Commissioner Curran has none either. Going to read a little language in regards to legislative matters here. Please bear with me. Brought a water bottle just in case. Mouth gets a little dry. All right. If you wish to participate in this hearing, including challenges for bias or conflicts of interest, you must complete the sign-in form located on the table on the west side of the room and deliver it to the secretary. Please do so immediately. Testimony will be taken in the following order. Applicant, testimony in favor, testimony in opposition, rebuttal by the applicant, and then the chair may also reopen for additional testimony followed by an applicant rebuttal. Hearing closed following that for public comment, and then the Planning Commission will deliberate and reach a decision. All testimony, arguments, and evidence presented regarding The request must be directed towards the applicable criteria or other criteria in the plan or land use regulation, which that person believes to apply to the decision. Please address only the applicable criteria for the decision. Please do not speak unless recognized by the chair. Please do not make comments, noises, or gestures that may distract the person speaking, the members of the commission, or the audience. Once the hearing has been closed and the commission begins deliberation, no further public testimony will be accepted. Failure of persons to participate in the public hearing, either orally or in writing, precludes that person's right of appeal to the City Council or the Land Use Board of Appeals. Written testimony submitted prior to the hearing constitutes participation in the hearing. Okay. We will hear a staff report.
Okay. Okay, so this is a zoning and comprehensive plan map amendment. It is to rezone approximately, this is 2.06, it's actually 2.11 acres of land that is currently in our M1 zone, which is light industrial. I'd like to rezone it to central mixed use. There we go. So the applicant and property owners request a zone change. They want to rezone 2.11 acres. This is part of the remnant of the light industrial land slated for a commercial rezone within the area. And this area is more likely to be occupied for commercial uses. As you see on the map there, you can see a slightly reddish pink area. That is the light industrial remnant that's left of the area that used to be Harris Pine Mills. Everything else has been changed to central mixed use or CMU, and that includes all the way to Oxford Suites. And the existing zone in that area is predominantly for manufacturing and allied uses that need flat topography and easy access to intermodal shipping facilities. You can see here in the pictures, it's usually a very large site that is desired. That's because uses are typically air transportation or auto service, building materials, trade contractors, general light industrial, wholesaling, and transfer stations. Whereas the central mixed use zone provides land areas that to preserve the city's core area and historic structure. It's also designed to accommodate the greatest concentration of retail, business, and government. If you look down at the pictures as well, you can see that area actually has a good deal of commercial. You can see Jack in the Box and Perfect Nails, US Cellular, Napa Auto Parts. So outside the historic district, the uses include animal clinics, auto service, breweries, distilleries, restaurants, bars, food, general business, personal service, general retail, vendors, and residential uses as well. And that is a primary component here. In our central mixed use, residential uses are allowed. In the industrial zone, they are not allowed. So a little bit of history of the area. The subject area was zoned light industrial because it had access to the Umatilla River, was connected to the east-west rail line, and functioned as a Harris Pine lumber mill. So this mill is no longer in use, and the Umatilla River is not negotiable by motorized boats. Therefore, it reduces its intermodal shipping ability for industrial uses, except primarily lumber mills. The area is too close to other commercial uses, such as grocery stores, hotels, offices, and so forth. And those uses do not rely upon water power. Having sold much of the east land, such as Melanie Square, is no longer has access to the rail line. That area also had Smith Frozen Food Cannery, administration offices, and both sites were both using acres and acres of land in that area. Since then, following the Harris Pine logging plant closure, it was replatted, and sold for new commercial development. So it's now our largest high volume merchandise store district is what I would call it. It once offered 4 pharmacies on 4 corners of a main intersection. I believe we're down to 2 now. And everything has been systematically rezoned over the past several years, heading towards commercial mixed use. So if you look at the map here, you can see the subject area in the lower section, and Walmart is identified to give you an idea of where it is at. The uses on that site, in 2012, there was a dental office built next door. However, the site includes a small area for a single unit dwelling that was built in 1905 that has since been demolished. It also includes a small shop and then a storage warehouse. In the 1930s and 40s, machine sheds and also were constructed out there. And then the site also had an illegal wrecking yard. In 2013, a large retail store, which was once Walgreens, is now Napa, was constructed. And in 1979, a large retail store was built, known as the Salvation Army. And then in 1982, a mini mall was constructed as well. And that is now primarily the location for Kylie. So summary conclusions for staff: the systematizing rezoning development of this area into commercial neighborhood since 1953. That's the dissolution of the industrial use, the lumber mill, further discourages the area from being developed as light industrial. Pendleton has identified a 350-acre excess of industrial zoning, primarily up at the airport. The existing establishments are benefited by this zone change as they are more compatible with a commercial neighborhood. As far as needed housing, the subject property is currently zoned M1. It does not permit residential development. However, rezoning it to the central mixed use increases the potential for residential development. And relating to public works, the proposed development will not create a significantly higher demand on the public works system than the existing sewer and water service lines can provide for those uses listed in central mixed use. As far as goal 12 goes, a 10,000 square foot light industrial building would be an allowed use on that property. The applicant currently proposes to use the existing warehouse for storage of goods and to construct an animal clinic. In calculation, those 2 uses would not trigger a traffic impact study in comparison to a 10,000 square foot light industrial building. Therefore, it has a less chance of impacting any traffic or transportation facility, such as our streets. We did contact ODOT and they had no comment regarding the zone amendment. Changing the zone to CMU does not have the potential to degrade an existing transportation facility, but Southwest 20th Street appears to be in a transition of expanding in width from 70 feet to 80 feet. Staff then placed a condition on this rezone for dedication of 10 feet fronting Southwest 20 feet for future widening. That is an option of the Planning Commission to accept. A reduction of the trip generation through changing an industrial zone to commercial zone maintains the performance of Southwest 20th Street and Southwest Court Avenue because the transportation facilities in this area were designed for commercial development. Here are some pictures of the site. You can see that small shop, or it was known as Integrity. I think it was a glass shop in the past. And then you can see the overall site. The blue arrows should show where the upper one shows where the single unit dwelling is located. And then you'll have the Integrity Glass in the warehouse. And then you can see the site behind Salvation Army, as well as the site that is behind Kindleaf that used to be an illegal wrecking yard. All of the rezone would encompass all of that area It will not remove the entire spot zone. The small building next to Salvation Army, once known as Pendleton Veterinary Clinic and then Pupcakes, that will remain in the M1 zone. It did not request to participate in the zone change.
Okay. Thank you, Julie. Terrifically well done. Before we hear from the applicant, does anybody have any questions for Julie? That picture on top, is that taken on Southwest 20th Street?
Yes,
And I assume that 10 feet that you're referring to must be where the sidewalk is currently moving back 10 feet to line up with the rest? Is that
correct.
what that means?
Yeah.
Okay. Is the applicant with us this evening?
Apparently not.
Okay.
If you want any kind of information or history or anything like that regarding the widening of the road, Tim Simmons, the city engineer, is present to talk.
Not necessarily on behalf of the applicant, though,
No.
right? Just in regards to the road?
Yes. So if the commission has any questions on it.
Is there any, okay, so one of the conclusions reached is that moving from CMU or moving to CMU and removing these islands is probably a good thing or can be seen that way. Why are not the small portion that was the clinic?
I do not know why they did not choose to participate.
So it's just a different tax lot that they did not include?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, does anybody have any questions for Julie or Tim at this point? Okay. Do we have any proponents? Do we have any opponents? Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing. The commission will deliberate. Not very often does it happen that we have no testimony to consider. That being
True.
said, actually, you know what, you guys go ahead. Is there any thoughts on this particular topic that you guys want?
I'm just wondering if the veterinary clinic doesn't want to rezone, then how do we determine? Do we just go around that
Yes.
location?
We just
Yes.
ignore that tax lot.
Okay.
The pink area just keeps shrinking.
Got you.
Yeah. Is the applicant aware of the condition to widen Southwest 20th?
The applicant was mailed the staff report and we did talk to them at the front counter regarding that.
So the applicant knows the recommended conditions of approval?
I would assume as much.
I guess we're referring to the setback then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 10 feet, 20 feet.
Go ahead.
I thought. Commissioner, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Well, I have some findings I'd like to make.
That sounds great.
Okay, I find that the proposed zone change meets the criteria because the systematic rezoning and development of this area into commercial neighborhoods since 1953, dissolution of the industrial use lumber mill discourages this area from being developed as light industrial. Pendleton has identified a 350-acre excess of industrial zoning. The existing establishments are benefited by this zone change as they are compatible with a commercial neighborhood. I could go on, but let's do one at a time.
I agree with that. I would say that it has not, it's been short of what I would call a theme, but it is not something that we have not heard in front of this commission previously to rezone some of these light industrial properties that used to be located next to the railroad tracks into CMU for the purposes of expanding commercial development in areas that are becoming more commercial and also leaving open the possibility for residential development. I would concur with that. Go ahead.
I'll continue. Okay. A rezoning to the central mixed use increases the potential for residential development. That's a finding. And the proposed development will not create a significantly higher demand on the public works system. And Southwest 20th Street is partially constructed for arterial traffic. This is the widest and most accommodating road standard. By extending this arterial standard 80 feet wide, there should not be a significant impact on the transportation facility. And reduction of the trip generation, vehicle trips, right? And reduction of the trip generation through changing an industrial zone to a commercial mixed zone use better maintains the performance of Southwest 20th Street and Southwest Court Avenue because the transportation facilities in this area were designed for commercial development. The establishment of dwelling units in this neighborhood would bring the area into consideration as a mixed-use environment. Barring DOT testimony otherwise, the development of this property does not appear to trigger a traffic impact study in comparison to an industrial use.
You may also want to make a finding that ODOT chose not to make any testimony, which would lead us to believe they are,
Neutral.
well, fine with the zone change.
Yeah. Well, I will add to that the commission and the city have not received the notification from ODOT regarding this proposal, which indicates that to me that they do not have an issue with it.
Thank you, Commissioner Hatfield. Does anybody have any discussion on any of the findings? Okay. Is there a second?
I'll make a second.
We've got 5 findings here. If anyone would like to remove any of one of those from, well, actually, let's call it 6 findings now. If anyone would like to remove one of those for further discussion, please say so now. Otherwise, I'd look for a second in regards to all 6.
Yes, I'll make a second for all 6.
Seconded by Commissioner Popol. All in favor of adopting the 6 findings as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay.
Any further discussion on this topic? Okay.
Well, then, I move that the commission adopt the findings and conclusions prepared by staff and made by the commission at this hearing, specifically the 3 staff recommended conditions on page 2 of 83 and the 6 findings that we've just discussed and approved. Specifically showing that the proposal set forth in action AMD 26-01 does meet the applicable approval criteria as set forth in action ADM 26-01
Terrific.
above.
Terrific. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Moeller. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Well, then I don't think I have to do number 2.
No.
So I make a motion to move that the request for a zone map amendment from M1 light industrial to CMU central mixed use as set forth in action AMD 26-01 be recommended for approval to the city council. Based on the information, findings, and conclusions prepared by staff and made by the commission at this hearing, subject to the conditions of approval as recommended by staff and agreed upon by the commission.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner, okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Hatfield, seconded by Commissioner Hudson. Any discussion? Okay, proceed to a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Julie, is it considered good form to read the language again if we have new people who have entered the room?
I would think so.
Second matter tonight is CUP 26-03, a conditional use request. First, we'd hear any ex parte contact or conflicts of interest. Commissioner Hudson,
No.
Commissioner Popol,
No.
Commissioner Mueller,
No.
Commissioner Hatfield,
None.
Commissioner Curran, also none. Find my language again. They have that handy. Got it. You got it. Okay, because we have new entrants to the room and this is such a large hearing, I think I will read this again. If you wish to participate in this hearing, including challenges for bias or conflict of interest, you must complete the sign-in form located on the table, the west side of the room, and deliver it to the secretary. Please do so immediately. Testimony will be taken in the following order: the applicant, the testimony in favor, testimony in opposition, rebuttal. Chair may also reopen for additional testimony, followed by applicant rebuttal. The hearing will then be closed to for public comment, and the Planning Commission will deliberate and reach a decision. All testimony, arguments, and evidence presented regarding this request must be directed towards the applicable criteria or other criteria in the plan or land use regulation which that person believes to apply to the decision. Please address only the applicable criteria for the decision. Please do not speak unless recognized by the chair. Please do not make comments, noises, or gestures that may distract the person speaking, the members of this commission, or the audience. Once the hearing has been closed and the commission begins deliberation, no further public testimony will be accepted. Failure of persons to participate in the public hearing, either orally or in writing, precludes that person's right of appeal to the City Council or the Land Use Board of Appeals. Written testimony submitted prior to the hearing constitutes participation in the hearing. All right. I will assume that the stack here must be people who would like to testify.
Yes.
Seeing such a large stack, I'm going to limit public testimony to 3 minutes per person. I think that should probably give us enough time, I hope, to get everyone a chance to have a say. All right. Staff report, please, Julie.
Okay. We're here to discuss a cannabis retail facility at 406 Northeast Highway 11 in the service commercial zone. If you look at the photo up at the can't think of what that's called.
Screen.
Screen, thank you.
Smart board.
You should see a white arrow. That is the site. If you look at that site, you can see that it is inside the city limits. Okay, so the applicant desires to establish an OLCC licensed retail cannabis marijuana retail store This property was annexed into the city limits January of 2026. There is a small portion of commercial land along Highway 11. So Highway 11 is kind of a mixture of industrial uses on the west side, commercial uses on the northeast side, and residential uses on the southeast side. Marijuana is regulated in the city of Pendleton based on specific criteria. There are some pre-existing residences in that area. The applicant requests approval of a conditional use permit for the development and operation of an OLCC licensed cannabis retail facility. The project includes construction of a new commercial building with associated parking, access, and streets and site improvements in compliance with the city of Pendleton zoning and development standards. Now, everyone's question is always, what about the flood issue out in that site? So if you can, you cannot quite see it there. So the darker orange or reddish color, that is the zone X, which is outside of the flood hazard zone area. So this site, actually, it received a LOMAR back in, I think it was 2016. That site was pulled out of the flood area. Planning districts allowing marijuana. So recreational or medical marijuana facilities are allowed in the central mixed use and service commercial C3 planning districts. The subject area is zoned service commercial C3. Criteria for approval. They may not locate within 1,000 feet of any real property comprising a public or private school containing one or any combination of grades kindergarten through 12th grade, or real property comprising a park or community recreation facility attended primarily by individuals under the age of 18, or another recreational, medical, or wholesale manufactured marijuana facility. Site is service commercial C3 zone, which does allow through conditional use marijuana facilities. Washington School is more than 1,000 feet from the proposed site. This is the closest public school. There are no known private schools in the area. The only known private school is Pendleton's Christian School on Southwest Haley Avenue, which is actually miles away from this site. The River Parkway is the closest park. It is shown within the solid red area, dark red area on the above map. The subject site is outside of that 1,000-foot barrier for parks. Yes, you can. In the hatched area in red that you can see in the right side there, you can see a black rectangle. That used to represent Ghost Town Organics, which was a grow site for marijuana. That ceased being in existence in 2021. That was the last year they received a business license. Therefore, that site is no longer active and that area opens up and that hatched area goes away, which makes this site available for marijuana. The next closest marijuana facility is at 1616 Southeast Court Avenue. That's approximately 3,000 feet from the subject site. So this site meets the criteria for its zoning and meets the barrier tests for a marijuana facility. There are additional criteria for approval. They must conduct all operations indoors in a non-transparent solid walled structure. They must confine all objectionable odors to the premises. They must shield marijuana plants and marijuana products from public view. They must have a primary sales entrance located on street-facing facades or a primary parking lot if the building is set perpendicular to the right-of-way. And drive-through facilities are prohibited. The applicant has proposed a non-transparent solid-walled structure with narrow windows near the roof line above the midline of the structure. The applicant has experience with retail marijuana and can speak towards the dispersal of odors beyond the structure or the property. The applicant has not indicated that any marijuana plants would be sold, on display, or grown at the site at the time the staff report was written. The building's design with high windows will provide a barrier between the interior products and the street view. The applicant has indicated that the main building facade would face Highway 11. Staff has advised the applicant to have primary parking area and business entrance off Highway 11 rather than Northeast Riverside Avenue, as it is the industrial corridor for the area. It is designed for more traffic, and it does not face a residential neighborhood. The applicant does not propose a drive-through window on the facility. The applicant includes a facility with windows above the street view height. The applicant will need to provide additional testimony regarding odors and plants. By locating the main business facade and entrance on Highway 11, the facility is directed towards the commercial industrial corridor of the area, minimizing customer traffic in the residential neighborhood, and presents a less obvious face to the neighborhood. No drive-through is proposed. Criteria for conditional uses. There are 4. This one regards the site of the proposed use, whether or not it's adequate in size and shape. As you can see up here on the screen, their site plan is proposed. So the site is 12,197 square feet in site. That site would be able to accommodate a 50 by 60 or 3,000 square foot building. It appears that he is proposing about 1,000 to 1,100 square foot building, if I understand the drawing correctly. The next is whether it relates to streets and highways and whether or not those are adequate in width to handle the quantity and kind of vehicular traffic that this proposed use will generate. The site has frontage along Highway 11, which is classified as an arterial street. That is the largest street standard that the city of Pendleton has. It is generated to take all traffic types, including semi-trucks. So it is supposed to be the greatest conduit for through traffic. And what you see here is the site before demolition occurred. These buildings have been removed. The site is now clear and free of all structures. You can see the Highway 11 access point. The second portion of that is Northeast Riverside Avenue. Northeast Riverside Avenue does not meet city standards. It lacks a curb, gutter, sidewalk, may even lack full width pavement and planter strip with trees. It is a local street. It's actually a collector, which means that all local residential streets funnel into that street, and then that street then connects to an arterial street. It dictates 2 travel lanes, a planter strip, and sidewalks with a 60-foot right-of-way. So the entire public right-of-way lacks full street improvements. What I mean by that is from Highway 11 to its terminus, it has no full street improvements. It does have pavement. A portion of Riverside is under county jurisdiction and a portion under tribal jurisdiction. Construction of these improvements may be best warranted when coordinated throughout the neighborhood and by all jurisdictions. Instead of constructing half-street improvements along the site's riverside frontage concurrent with construction of the proposed facility, staff recommends a condition of approval for the property owner to sign an irrevocable consent to participate in a future local improvement district to construct improvements, and that will be recorded. It will run with the property. Here is a trip generation. The site used to be a bar and a laundromat. The table did not include the potential for a laundromat to be generated for traffic, so I used hair salon because that tends to be, you have an appointment, you come in, you take care of business and you leave, same as a laundromat. And it did not show that it would trigger a change of use or a traffic impact study. It showed that the existing use would have higher number of traffic trips than a proposed marijuana store. So the next portion would be any negative impacts of the proposed use on adjacent properties, whether or not those can be mitigated. Site barriers is one of the potential problems or impacts that may occur. So the applicant has proposed a building with solid walls and high windows. The applicant has also indicated a site obscuring fence or landscaping. The commission may desire to add conditions to ensure this type of building is constructed. For example, requiring it to have solid walls with high windows. Landscaping. The applicant has stated that landscaping and fencing will be installed. You can see the picture here on the right where the green area is, which would be landscaping. Landscaping can create a barrier and also improve the neighborhood with shade, beauty, and biofiltration. Fencing also provides a site barrier, security, and restrains activities and people. So the commission may desire to add conditions for landscaping and fencing, which may help the business with the neighborhood and prove additional barriers along Northeast Riverside. You will note on his generated site plan that he has proposed some form of tree or foliage within the corner where Highway 11 and Northeast Riverside will meet. That area, it has a clear vision area, and he will need to keep that away or back from that clear vision area. Kind of clipped off in the picture. Controlled access points, the business fronts Highway 11 and Northeast Riverside Avenue. Highway 11 provides access to industrial businesses on the west side of the highway. Northeast Riverside is a residential, local, or collector road. There are bus stops present on Northeast Riverside near the proposed site. The commission may desire to add a condition that the site uses Highway 11 for primary business access, but allow restricted entrance for employees or small deliveries off Northeast Riverside. Lighting. Lighting can create a nuisance, but is a sound security method. The best lighting is directed into the yard for which it is designed to keep secure while minimizing spillover into neighboring yards. The site is bordered by residences on the north. In fact, that is a registered historic dwelling, and a residential neighborhood on the east and south. So the commission may desire to condition security lighting such that minimizes casting. Signage. A business is afforded the ability to advertise its location. However, some businesses are in sensitive areas that can create negative impacts through chosen signage, such as EMCs that penetrate the privacy of residences or products that are illegal for minors. The site is in a residential area and near a school bus stop. So the commission may desire a condition that limits the signage manner and or placement. Limiting openings. The applicant chose a building with windows near the roof line and a minimum sill height above the mid-level of the wall for both security and blockage of street view. Again, the commission may desire to limit potential window openings or the type of building. Outdoor storage of merchandise. The applicant indicates that all inventory, storage, sales, and customer service would occur inside the enclosed building. You may desire to place a condition to ensure that. The applicant will limit odors escaping the site through ventilation controls. Wind typically travels from the southwest to the northeast in this area. Placement of ventilation controls should consider wind direction. So you may desire to put a condition on that as well. I would like it noted that when the applicant submitted their application, they provided a site plan different from the one that you will see up here on the screen. Therefore, some of these conditions and comments were made regarding that previous site plan. Regulate activity time. OLCC regulates hours of operation. However, there is a public transit stop adjacent to the site on the rear property line. There's also a school bus stop across the street. It's plus or minus 100 feet down the road. So the commission may feel it necessary to regulate hours. However, I am uncertain how that will work when the children are dropped off after school. The public transit stop has a more adult clientele base. Future enlargement, the commission may opt to include a condition that the application returns to the planning commission if the building is expanded. Other conditions, parking, delivery, security, stormwater, etc. So the planning commission can add conditions beyond if they feel other negative impacts may occur regarding this proposed application. So the applicant indicates that at least 10 parking spaces will be provided. Circulation will allow the vehicles to exit the site facing traffic rather than backing out. Delivery of product will occur during daytime, and security will meet OLCC measures and controls. Stormwater review is typically a requirement of parking lot engineering review, and it will require an engineering application for new development. And the final criteria is that whether or not it is an area designated for the preservation of historic, scenic, or cultural resources. And this site is not known nor declared to have or to be registered as a scenic, historic, or cultural site. We did receive testimony. We received testimony from 3 individuals. All were neighbors. They all indicated opposition, and I believe they are actually present and can comment. If not, one requested or suggested that the site be better used for neighborhood market, laundromat, and even a drive-through. Another one spoke about another marijuana business is not warranted. Business is not appropriate in a residential neighborhood, and that some cannabis businesses trigger relocation of other businesses. And then there are some issues with those when clients use adjoining properties to imbibe in the purchased product or perhaps do some littering in the area. The final testimony was basically neutral, and it was regarding traffic. See, the neighbor suggested reducing the speed limit to slow commuting drivers. This is coming down off of Highway 11. So when you come down off of Highway 11 from the Milton Freewater Walla Walla area, you actually have a speed of 45 miles per hour. Traffic actually tends to go 55, and it comes right all the way in underneath the bridge of Highway 11 there by, used to be Pendleton Ford. And that can cause some traffic issues as far as pulling out of Riverside. Along with that, you have 2 or 3 driveways that come off of Lindell or Lindell's Auto Salvage across the street and Riverside Place. So you actually have a good deal of traffic to watch as you come out of Riverside Avenue. Let's see. Just did not pick it up. So the applicant actually has proposed additional testimony. It is on a sheet of paper in front of you. It is several pages. If the chair would like to perhaps provide a moment of pause for the planning commission to read that, if the chair would like to do that, it could also act as a restroom break or something of that nature.
Why don't we hear from the applicant first and then we'll make that decision? Does that conclude the staff report?
That does conclude the staff report.
Terrific job. Well done. Any questions for staff before we hear from the applicant? I have a question for Tim.
Yes, sir.
Any concern about this commercial development having any effect on public utilities in that area or stormwater drain? I don't know. Is there a concern of any kind engineering wise?
No, the existing water and sewer are sufficient for this type of business. The stormwater, they will need to provide a grading plan and a plan for how they're going to deal with their stormwater. I believe they're planning on doing it via an infiltration basin or swale area. This area does drain pretty well as far as through the, infiltration through the alluvial fills. So I think it'll probably adequately handle the type of stormwater that will be generated off this lot.
Thank you, sir. Okay, the applicant, would you please take the podium, state your name and address for the record?
My name is Brandon Krenzler. I live at 15 Southeast Immigrant, number 603.
And your testimony this evening, sir?
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Brandon Krenzler. I am the applicant and the local operating partner for Pendleton Stewards LLC, doing business as Oregon's finest Pendleton at 406 Northeast Highway 11. I have submitted to you a full written testimony into the record tonight, and I ask that it be accepted in its entirety. I have abridged that for my oral testimony to respect time of the meeting. What I will share with you now are the most important points from that submission, and I will appreciate the commission's time and consideration this evening. I want to begin by establishing who is behind the application, because I believe it is the most relevant evidence before you tonight. Oregon's Finest is one of Oregon's founding cannabis brands, operating continuously since 2012, among the first retail and medical cannabis licenses in state history, and selected by state regulators to participate in early OLCC rulemaking processes. And they helped shape the very framework that governs Oregon's cannabis industry today. The state does not extend that kind of participation to arbitrary operators. It selects licensees with demonstrated compliance histories, policy knowledge, and a track record of working within structured regulatory systems rather than against them. Oregon's Finest currently operates 2 locations in Portland, one in the Convention Center District and one in the Pearl District, where residential neighbors are in close proximity. Both operate professionally and compatibly within those communities without negative impacts and have been speculated about tonight. My partner and Oregon's Finest founding member Tyson is a co-investor in this Pendleton project. Rounding out our team is a third partner who is present tonight, a well-respected local business owner whose roots in this community span decades and whose presence in this venture reflects the same community-first values that guide everything we are building here. I bring to this application my own years as founding CEO of Kind Leaf Pendleton, one of this community's existing licensed retailers. I was actually before this commission in 2016. I developed the first brand established in this community. This community watched me stand before a body not unlike this one, make commitments of how I would operate, and then spend the better part of a decade delivering on every one of them in plain sight. I am also the current founding owner of Project Inner Bloom, a wellness apothecary and restaurant concept here in Pendleton, located near the post office, which further demonstrates my ongoing commitment to building aesthetically considered community-oriented businesses within the city. Pendleton does not have to wonder what kind of operator I am. It already knows. The sole legal question before you tonight is whether this application meets the conditional use permit criteria under the Unified Development Code, and it does. The site is Zone C3 Service Commercial, which conditionally permits cannabis retail. It is more than 1,000 feet from any school, with Washington School approximately 3,900 feet away. It is more than 1,000 feet from any park or community recreation facility. It is more than 1,000 feet from any other marijuana facility, including the one that no longer exists that was already approved for this neighborhood. All threshold criteria are satisfied and the burden of proof under UDC 13.06 has been met. Opposition testimony expressing personal preference for a different type of business or general discomfort within the cannabis industry does not constitute grounds for denial under the UDC. And I ask the commission to weigh those concerns against the applicable legal standard rather than substituting them for it. As for hours of operation, I have a preemptive objection to the staff recommendation. I very thoroughly went through the staff report and development of this testimony. The first staff recommendation I wish to address is the proposed school day morning hours restriction. The OLCC authorizes retailers to operate from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. statewide. Oregon's finest Pendleton intends to operate within that window, consistent with the state law and consistent with every other licensed cannabis retailer currently operating in Pendleton, all of whom open between 7 or 8 a.m. with no city-imposed restriction on morning hours. If this commission adopts the staff recommendation as written, Oregon's finest Pendleton would be the only dispensary in the city operating under a school day morning limitation. That is an unequal competitive disadvantage, not grounded in any finding that our facility poses a materially different risk than existing retailers during those same hours. The UDC standard requires that conditions of approval be necessary to mitigate actual negative impacts. And I would ask the commission to identify if any specific negative impact that a 7 or 8 a.m. opening would create at this location that does not already exist at 4 other dispensaries operating without these restrictions. The physical design of our facility already addresses the intent behind the proposed restriction. Minors cannot enter under Oregon law. They cannot observe interior operations through our building, which features solid walls and high windows positioned above street view. We are installing site obscuring fencing along the Riverside Avenue frontage that will further interrupt any sightline from the bus stop that is down the road from the property. A locking security gate is also going to be installed on the Riverside Avenue access that will remain secure during all non-operating hours. The bus stop referenced in the staff report is located to the west on Riverside Avenue, to the east, and is not proximate to our Highway 11 side. The combination of law, architecture, fencing, and gate controls collectively accomplish what this restriction intends. Adding a time-based condition on top of the measures that already achieve the same outcome is not necessary under the UDC standard. It creates a burden no comparable operator in this market carries and would impose a real hardship on our ability to create stable local employment and serve our customer base consistently. I respectfully ask the commission not to adopt this recommendation. Access and traffic. I have a preemptive objection to the staff recommendation on limitations of a dual driveway. The second staff recommendation I wish to address is the proposal to eliminate a functional Riverside access entirely, restricting it exclusively to employees and two-axle deliveries. I fully agree that Highway 11 is and should be the primary customer access point and will have designated signage at the site with that orientation. The building facade and signage, however, the building facade and entrance faces away from Highway 11. What I am asking the commission to consider carefully is the specific safety geometry of this corner. Highway 11 carries significant commuter and freight traffic at posted speeds of 45 miles per hour in our area. The existing driveway allotment has a limited sight line when looking toward the northeast, and geometric constraints that create genuine risk when it functions as the sole point of ingress and egress for every vehicle movement. Forcing every vehicle, including the residents of the neighborhood behind us, to loop out onto a 45-mile-an-hour arterial and re-enter Riverside to reach a property that is functionally in their backyards increases Highway 11 conflict points rather than reducing them. And that is not a safer outcome. I am fully agreeable to a locking gate, as I said before, on the Riverside access. I am asking the commission not to eliminate entirely on the safety grounds that the geometry and the neighborhood layout of this specific site does not support. On the condition of odor control, our facility will use a fully internal inline fan and activated carbon filtration system. Air will be exchanged and filtered within the building entirely. There is no exterior venting of unfiltered air planned nor allowed. This is the identical system that I operated at Kindleaf Pendleton for the years I ran it without a single substantiated odor complaint filed against my facility. It eliminates the concern at the source rather than managing it at the perimeter. I want to speak directly and sincerely to the neighbors who submitted testimony, 2 letters in opposition and 1 in a neutral capacity. I have read each one carefully and I understand where they are coming from. These are people who have invested decades of their lives in this neighborhood and they deserve a neighbor who takes that seriously. My response to their concerns is not words alone, it is my record. My years at Kindleaf maintaining a clean facility, addressing loitering and panhandling directly as a property operator, funding community events, and being present and accountable as the member of this community throughout my entire tenure. That did not end when my time at Kindleaf did. It now continues at Project Inner Bloom, and it will continue here. To the neighbors who would prefer a market or laundromat at this location, I hear that and I respect it. The buildings that stood here before were beloved by many in this community. They were also structurally compromised, contaminated with mold and asbestos, and beyond saving. Their demolition was not a loss I created. It was a condition that we inherited. What we are proposing to put in their place is a newly constructed building of considered design with native planted green space, intentional landscaping, and site improvements that will give this stretch of Highway 11 the facelift it has long deserved. I also want to offer this perspective. A well-designed and professionally operated, visually appealing business on this neglected corner does not foreclose the possibility of a neighborhood market following. In my experience, it does the opposite. Investment attracts investment. We may be, in fact, creating the conditions that make other new businesses those neighbors are hoping for more likely to arrive. In conclusion, I want to confirm on the record that we have stamped engineering plans submitted and are awaiting approval. We agreed to the LID consent for the Riverside Avenue improvements. Our fencing will meet all height and vision clearance regulations and be constructed of aesthetically pleasing materials. There will be no signage of any kind on Riverside Avenue. Our Highway 11 sign will be non-electronic, and the lights that will be on it will have a dimming mechanism that will turn off within 30 minutes of our closing each night. Deliveries will only occur during daytime hours. Our security system will meet all local and OLCC requirements, including full camera coverage with night vision capabilities, thus limiting the need for bright lighting at night. We engaged in a pre-application conference with the city staff and have approached this entire process in good faith. I am prepared to accept any reasonable conditions proportionate to the actual findings in this record. My full written testimony addresses every item in the staff report in detail, and I ask that it be considered alongside what I have shared with you verbally tonight. I ask that the commission to approve CUP 2603 and to welcome Oregon's finest Pendleton as a responsible, invested, and committed member and steward of this community. Thank you.
Is the applicant open to questions from this commission?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to raise?
I do.
Commissioner Hatfield?
I'm looking at page 3 of 29 on the city's information. And at the top is staff recommended conditions number 14, speaking to the hours of operation. And in your opening statement, you said, I think I heard you say, this is what I wanted to clarify, that the business could be open between 7 or 8 to 10 p.m. And does that mean, that's what I heard. Is that what you said?
State law allows cannabis dispensary retailers to be open between the hours of 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. We will either be open at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. We are undecided as of this point.
Okay. Would you be willing to accept 8 a.m. as a possible
We would.
condition?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, there's an awful lot here. So if you'll bear with me just for a moment as I
Absolutely.
gather my bearings on this.
Can I just ask where the?
Commissioner Hudson?
actual- Please, I'm sorry. Where the actual bus stop is located? I don't know if Julie could tell me or you can tell me.
The bus stop for children
Yes.
is located down on to the right on Riverside Avenue.
Okay.
Near that large telephone pole, about 120 feet away.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And I did walk over there, and it is actually very hard to see the diagonal point of the property where our entrances would be without any side obscuring fencing.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start with the odor control. If I remember right now, it's been several years. We talked about odor control extensively, and at the time, I think you had described a system that was, if I remember right, a state of the art, like internal design prevents odor from escaping. And I assume that what you described in your testimony is the same system at Kind Leaf right now, and Kind Leaf has produced no known odor problems.
You
Is
are
that
correct.
Accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
If you'd like a little more in-depth information, what it is a fan that draws air in within the facility, filters it, and relays it back into the facility. Nothing leaves or is drawn in from outside the facility.
Okay.
If there were, Julie, you had on a report, there was something about growing
Plants growing.
plants. We have any live plants there?
We are not currently going to be hosting live plants. What I did at Kind Leaf Pendleton seasonally was sell live plants for personal cultivation that is allowed. If that were to take place here, they would be handled in the same way. A small location in the back of the facility in a controlled environment, very small portions of them at a time, available during a very specific time of the season. We might not offer those here, as one of our business partners is also a cultivation expert and has his own farm, and it's not something that he expressed interest in, and it is kind of difficult to offer those and maintain those on site. So we're not 100% that we would even do that. There would be no cultivation of any other sort on the property.
Okay, I think I get the layout there. Is that left-hand picture representative of what's intended?
That is, the first one I submitted was before we had met and had engineered plans stamped. That is the new design since we did the layout with a local engineer.
So is it your testimony then, this being a 45-mile-per-hour zone highway right there, it potentially would be safer for cars to re-enter Highway 11 through a Riverside Avenue exit?
I think offering the capability would limit the safety risks instead of forcing everybody out through Highway 11 and in through Highway 11, which was the original assumption at the conditional use pre-design team meeting with the staff.
Okay.
And the trees on the corner, you're amenable to keeping those lower?
Those are a representation of low-lying shrubbery.
Okay.
And lavender plants, things of that grow well in our environment without necessity of having a water system. The only trees we are proposing would be along the fence line to help the neighbors have a little bit of view blocking going on, which do already exist, need removed and replaced.
I have a question.
Yeah, Commissioner Hatfield.
I have a question for Civil Engineer Simmons.
Yes, sir.
Could you bring that last picture up again, Julie? Do you have any professional opinion in terms of safety of someone exiting either through the northern exit or the southern exit and turning left onto Riverside? Is there any difference in safety between turning left from one location versus turning left off of Riverside?
So yeah, Mr. Krensler and I had a brief conversation at the counter about that configuration. And I actually generally agree where if you're trying to exit at his front entrance, the highway actually, as it goes up the hill, starts to curve a little to the right. So it reduces the sight distance. And you can see right there are some large trees that are on the adjoining property that also restrict that sight distance to the right as you're exiting from that Highway 11 exit. So from that perspective, I do agree that it may be safer to exit at the rear of the building onto Riverside and then pull up at the intersection, at the stop controlled intersection, gives you a little more space for your sight distance. So I could see the front entrance being utilized primarily for vehicles exiting to the right because they can look to the left and see all the way up the bridge. So that's a pretty safe maneuver. However, exiting to the right is a little difficult because it's reduced sight distance, where exiting at the rear of the building onto the collector, which is Riverside, and it is a collector, it's not a neighborhood street. So it's a mid-level traffic street. Exiting on that street and either going left or right, depending on where their destination is probably a safer maneuver than having everybody exit at the Highway 11 entrance and turning left at that point.
Thank you.
Either way, Julie, does the ODOT opinion that no study is triggered still stand?
Yes.
Okay.
So that basis is because of the number of vehicles trips that are generated. So there are no change in trip generation based on the exiting configuration. When ODOT looks at it, they typically just say, how many trips is this thing going to generate? And then if it hits a threshold, then they would ask for a traffic study. And this isn't a large enough business to trigger that threshold.
I have one more question, at least for now. When the building was a bar, a local bar, do you know what the hours were of that establishment?
I personally do not know what the hours were. However, the hours allowed at a drinking establishment are very similar to what are allowed at a dispensary. And also, I'd like to note that a bar does not also allow minors in and has to have the same controls as we do.
Does staff know when bars have what restrictions there are for opening and closing?
Staff does not know what hours this particular bar had. At the time of my employment here with the city, that particular bar kind of lost its luster. So I don't know when.
The state,
That's fair.
the state allows,
Somebody in the audience that knows, but I won't embarrass them.
the state allows for a drinking establishment to be open until 2:30 a.m.
I think that's right.
as a limitation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the signage you were considering, it sounded like non-electronic, non-flashing, primary signage to face Highway 11 with minimal to, what was the terminology for signage facing Riverside Ave?
What we have envisioned is on the screen there on the left side picture is a round circular logo representing the brand stuck on two stakes. It's a wooden or plastic design sign that will be in the ground approximately this high with a projected light on each side of it to give it illumination during dark hours. And I said that we would have that shut off every night as of closing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions for the applicant? Okay. Your testimony in favor
So can the applicant get back down?
Yeah, the applicant can please sit down. All right. Do we have anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Okay, seeing none, we will hear testimony in opposition. I apologize if these are out of order, but I'm going to begin with Debbie Powell. If you could state your name and address for the record at the podium, please.
Debbie Powell, 3005 Northeast Riverside Avenue. I feel like we have plenty of pot stores in this town. I don't think we need one within 0.6 of a mile of the other one. I disagree with the traffic issues that this is going to create. Being a resident on Riverside and also having a business across from Riverside, coming out on Highway 11, trying to go either direction is a task. You've got people coming in, leaving town in that right lane that most want to turn onto Riverside. Some are going up 45 miles an hour to go past Riverside, which would be his frontage going up around Highway 11 out of town, which should use the other lane. They don't slow down. They don't use their signals. So getting out on Riverside as it is without having a business that's going to high volume traffic is here.
Please direct your, and that goes for everybody here as well. Please direct your, yeah, fair enough. Just direct your comments towards the chair.
Sorry. And then also, you guys keep mentioning the growing facility that was there, that is not there now, the ghost, whatever. If anybody had not known that was there, nobody would know it was there. There was no traffic. There was no in and out. It made absolutely no difference to anything in our area. It was non-existent if you didn't know it was there. With the children at the bus stops, they are just down the street. And that's not just that block, it's the next block, it's the block after that. And there's probably, anytime in the morning, there's probably 8 to 12 kids at each stop waiting for the bus. I think just as a citizen in town, I'm not against the use of marijuana. People, whatever is their deal. But I feel it's not something that we need in our area. I think it's way too close to too many residents. And I'm against it. So there's more, but that's all I have.
Thank you. The next is Jonathan Dennis. If you'd state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Jonathan Dennis. I live at 329 Northeast 2nd Avenue in Ontario, Oregon. I'm an attorney and I represent Kindleaf Pendleton LLC. I also have some written submissions I'd like to offer to the commission. I can either do that now or after the speaking.
If you could, well, that's interesting. Stephanie, could you please look those over and thank you.
And I have a PowerPoint here whenever it's ready. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm just going to talk briefly, direct my comments to parts of the Unified Development Code as well as the staff report and some aspects of the project narrative that have been offered. So Article 16.01 of the UDC describes the very purpose for these marijuana regulations within the city of Pendleton. And it says clearly the purpose of the article is to minimize adverse impacts on adjacent properties, schools, and other places where children congregate, and other land uses potentially incompatible with such facilities. One of the major concerns, and I believe Commissioner Hudson Bonneau, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Bonio, raised about the proximity of the school bus stop just right across the street. So children gather here, children disperse here twice each day. And we'll get into that here momentarily. Next slide. So one of the aspects of this code is that the facilities may not be located unless the reviewing authority, which is you all, determine that the applicant satisfies all of the requirements of the code and of state law. So if there's any aspect of this that is not being adhered to, it removes the legal authority for you to grant the permit. Next slide, please. So one aspect that's already come up is the odors. And the legal standard that's been adopted by the city here in 16.05 is that it's not just that there's no complaints, it's that the obligation legally is to confine all objectionable odors onto the premises. So that's a high standard, and it's a hard bar to meet. And next slide, please. And from the applicant's own project narrative, he doesn't purport or claim to be aspiring to that standard. He says, quote, "Retail operations are not expected to produce significant odor, and that any odor concerns will be addressed through building ventilations and operational controls as needed." That's a pretty far gap from containing all odors on the property. Next slide. And then in the staff recommendations, they also kind of call into question whether the facility is going to be able to fully contain all of those odors, talking about the ventilation placement and anticipating that there will be some wind blowing and trying to figure out which way that wind is going to blow and whether it's going to go towards the auto yard across the street or whether it's going to go towards the residence next door or whether it's going to go to the bus stop where the kids gather in the morning. Next slide. And again, if there's any violation of the code or state law, there's no legal authority to grant the permit. Next slide. So one of the staff recommendations that I thought was really appropriate here is this interest in shielding references to marijuana from public school bus stops on Riverside. And you heard Mr. Krinsler testify as to the location of that and how it's not really visible from the bus stop location. Next slide. And part of this concern is really just the odor that it would be potentially subjecting these kids to as they gather to try to get to school. Next slide. So the staff report suggests that, or offers as one possibility that the commission could determine that there are limited hours so that the dispensary is not open while kids are gathering and basically waiting to be picked up while people are coming to and from the dispensary that early in the morning. And then I found it very interesting and notable that it wasn't that it was undesirable to not have that also be the case at the point of drop-off, but rather it was just not practical for business purposes. So when we go to, so there's a question about mitigation here and what is actually going to be required in order to actually mitigate this very close proximity of children gathering in a dispensary. Next slide. So this is pictures of the area, and figure 9 here you may recognize from the staff report, and it shows one view of it. And then the pictures on the right here were taken in the last day or two. And the one with the bus with, you can see the sign up there with the stop sign. So that's it stopping to let kids on or off. And so that's its location. And then the black circle is the location where the kids were standing while they were waiting for the bus. And then underneath that is the very, and you can see it's kind of small, but in the middle of that black circle, there's a yellow fire hydrant. And so the picture on the bottom right is the clear view from where the kids gather to the dispensary. And you can go to the next slide, please. And that's the same picture, but blown up so you can see it more clearly. So this is, contrary to what Mr. Krinsler said, this is not hardly visible. This is very clear. Next slide.
Mr. Dennis, how many slides do we have? I tried to limit the testimony of all of, we have a large stack of people who would like to testify tonight, and I've kind of been a little lenient here. So
Okay.
how many slides are we looking at here?
I think I've got 6 more. I can try to go really quick.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is the bus schedule, and in the paperwork you've just been handed, you have the actual print-offs from the Pendleton School District. So we're talking K through 5, not just high school kids. These are young kids that are here. Next slide. And also in the staff reporting was a finding that this business may be a curiosity to minors who will be gathering right outside of it. Next slide. So again, to the point of the standards here that the commission must apply, UDC 1106.3 requires that if a conditional use permit is going to be granted, that there be a finding that the adverse impacts can be mitigated. And I think it's a fair question of what does it mean to mitigate? And I think it fairly clearly means mitigate to a point where the issue is no longer concerning or it's managed to a reasonable level. Clearly, doing some things might mitigate it some, but if it's still a problematic situation, it's not mitigated enough. Next slide. And again, there's this burden of proof, and the burden of proof that is applies to the applicant here applies with respect to all aspects of the application, including the fact that their mitigation has to be adequate. And so that is his burden to bear, that the proximity of these kids to the dispensary is not going to be a problem. Next slide. And again, so the language in the code about conditional use permits, these are we have this process because these are unusual properties that have special characteristics, and the goal is to ensure that they respect the objectives of the code and the surrounding properties. Next slide. So this is in a residential neighborhood. It might not be zoned residential in that plot, but it's clear surrounded by residences. And there's this conglomeration of uses kind of creates some real problems for this proposal. Next slide. And then again, this burden of proof, it does apply to all of these things. One, that there is no odors leaving the premises. It applies that all negative impacts will be appropriately mitigated, and also, that all provisions of the code are adhered to. So those are my major concerns, and there's more of them in the paperwork that you now have before you. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you. The next here is Megan Stevens. Testimony in opposition.
My name is Megan Stevens. I live about 416 Northwest 9th, and
Could you speak closer to the microphone,
oh,
please?
sorry.
Thank you.
And my kids' babysitter is down that road, and so my kids ride the bus, and then they're just I just don't feel comfortable with my kids being around that, like, you know, being able to see it, like you said, curiosity, you know, kids are curious all the time. And I have a 13-year-old and a 7-year-old. So the 13-year-old is definitely wants to ask questions and I don't know. I just don't want that over there. So,
Are you open to some questions from the commission?
sure.
It seems that we may have a slight discrepancy growing in where the bus stop is located. Can you testify to exactly where
I
this?
feel like the picture was pretty much accurate, but I feel like when the kids are getting dropped off, they're not just walking back down to their house. They're hanging out. They're walking all over. Like if you drive down there, you can see the kids running, like not on the road, but they're all just hanging out right there. So you can definitely see it. And I just feel like the more traffic, it's not going to be helpful at all with the kids being around there.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Bradley Olson. You state your name and address for the record, please.
Name is Brad Olson. I live at 1715 Southwest Immigrant. I was asked to look into the proposed area bus stop. Megan Stevens, a friend of mine. So I went down there and I witnessed the bus stop, where the bus stops. I actually walked from the bus stop to the property line. It is 65 feet, not 105. Approximately 11 kids got off the bus at 3:07. I did not stick around to see how many other kids got off at the 4:07. From what I've heard from residents up and down there, there's approximately 38 to 40 kids that frequent that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Brad Winkler.
I'm Brad Winkler. I live at 1211 Southwest 21st in Pendleton, and I know that area well down there. I've worked there during my time as a law enforcement officer. There is a lot of traffic down there. There's even a lot of traffic on Riverside. Now, to propose that you're going to let people drive in and out of that building onto Riverside is going to compact that because there's a stop sign right there where they're going to come out. And with the kids standing there waiting for the buses and stuff, it's just not I don't think it's a very safe thing. And the impact of what that's going to put on our children, just to see that every day, it makes me say, what kind of message are we wanting to send to our young kids and say, hey, look, where do you live? Oh, by the pot shop. That's what they're going to refer to it as. I think that there's going to be a lot more traffic there than what people believe there is and what they're considering there is. And as the picture dictates, and even if they remove those trees and went to plant something else, it's going to restrict the vision going up 11. And the intersection, it comes into town, that's already a bad intersection because of the way the traffic flows in and out of there. And this is just going to create a lot more traffic down through there. And I've been in that bar when it was a bar, and most of the people that went in there, it was foot traffic, not driving. That's why I didn't buy it, because it was almost all foot traffic. Those are my main concerns. I don't think it's a good message that we're sending to our young kids, because they're going to be subjected to that all day long, getting in and off buses.
Thank you, sir. Aaron Purchase.
Hi, my name is Erin Purchase. I am a co-founder of Kind Leaf Pendleton, and I am the managing member of Kind Leaf Pendleton. I have a couple opinions. One, I was down at the school bus multiple times this week. The kids load the bus at 70 feet from the property line. The kids get off the bus at 65 feet from the property line because they stand by a little pole and then they get off on the street. So it's like 5 feet difference. I measured that with an iPhone measuring device. So you put a point, walk, put a point. I did it multiple times. I counted 14 kids that got off the school bus this afternoon. I counted 6 school bus kids the other morning when I was down there. And then I didn't count them one time. I just took a picture. That is not something that's around any other dispensary in our town. We don't have a dispensary that kids are getting on and off a school bus in front of. That's definitely an issue. In the cannabis industry, we have vendors. They come in from Portland, Eugene, Bend, all over the state. We do not get to choose when they arrive. You do not get to choose. You can try to make appointments, but they're going to Ontario. So we get stopped on the way and we don't get to choose, and they just walk into our shops and they don't follow parking rules. And you could have 3 of them at once, and they drive big white transit vans. And when they are delivering product, they pull big totes full of weed out and they put them on the parking lot right in front of your car. And they, carry them in or have a staff member come out. And if you do carry live plants, which the city does not regulate, the OLCC regulates, which we all can carry live plants. And this year, all of us are. Kindleaf's been the only one for most years. The live plants come in batches of 300 mostly. They are racks. Like I think we had 3 full racks come out of the big van, and then you tote them into the store. So the proposed location has their vendor location on the Northeast Riverside. This morning or this afternoon when I was watching the bus, the traffic backed up clear to the highway because the stop sign comes out and the kids have to come out, and the bus driver is so cute. She gets on the megaphones and she makes sure that they all safely cross the street where they run and go to their houses that are right behind the dispensary. That is not something that we see in our town. That's not something I would ever participate in. And I would hate to see the city of Pendleton allow something like that, especially since they denied Bryson Thurman's first application on Tutawilla Road due to the impacts of children. So I would like to see the same standards apply. We should never impact the children's life and move their bus stop. It is way too close to this location. Thank you for having me and have a great night.
Thank you. Michael Dumont.
Hi, I'm Michael Dumont. My current address is 71547 Bridle Drive. As a 25-year resident of Riverside Avenue, there are so many issues with this business going in. You don't have time for me to talk. First off, the bus stop is directly to the east. There's a house right behind this building right here, the old Corral Tavern. The bus stop is right across the street. It is right directly across the street. It's at the entrance of the trailer park. That's my first. Anybody who's lived on Riverside, I don't agree with the stormwater abatement because that intersection floods nonstop all the time anyways. And in the winter time, it is nothing but a sheet of ice you can't pull out. When Ghost Town Organics was across the street on Riverside Place, the smell sometimes, I couldn't even let my kids. I've raised 6 kids in that neighborhood. I just sold my house there in January. I'm looking at buying another property on Riverside. I don't want my grandkids around that either. That's about all I have to say. I mean, like I said, you can ask me any question that you want. I have more to say than what I have time to.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you.
Mike Lanigan.
My name is Mike Lanigan. I live at 1651 Southeast Isaac. I've heard a lot of talk about filtration systems and odor control and state of the art, and maybe that works. I don't know. What I do know is I have sat at the intersection in front of the pot shop that's located across from Walker's Furniture. And I have seen people come out and go out to their car and light up their product. And it stinks to high heaven. So whatever kind of filtration you have in that building, it's going to do no good when they walk outside and light up. And there's kids in that area. It's surrounded on 3 sides by houses. There's a bus stop right there. It's a terrible idea to put this business there, given the nature of that neighborhood, no matter what the zoning is. The bar that was there was a hole in the wall, and I personally know nobody that ever set foot in it. You're going to have a significant increase in traffic associated with this business. And I don't know how many of you have pulled out of Riverside trying to take a left and head into Pendleton, but it's like the old Frogger video game trying to get across that road when the traffic's bad. It is terrible. Less traffic in that area is a good thing. More traffic is a bad thing. I also think that the city really needs to think about how many pot shops we have in this town already. I don't think we want to be known as the dispensary capital of the Pacific Northwest. We have enough now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Austin Barnes or Burns.
Hi there, I'm Austin Barnes. I live at 221 Southwest 6th Street here in Pendleton. I am a local resident. I do shop at all 4 stores. I am not against cannabis or dispensaries, but when you get out of your car in all the dispensaries, you can smell the pot, the weed from at least 200 feet, 200 yards. I guarantee with the wind blowing and with the kids bus stop close down there, I don't think it's safe, and it just gives the teenagers the itch, the urge or the curiosity. And I do a lot of work down there, and down on 35th Street, there is that whole area is a wind tunnel. I can smell people growing all the way from beginning of Riverside all the way down to 35th Street, down the old school bus road. And that is just a wind tunnel, and there's a bunch of kids. I don't think it's practical or right to be there. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes testimony in opposition. Chance for the applicant to offer rebuttal testimony.
Could I interject?
Yes.
Can you confirm that everyone has an address on their form for me, please?
Confirm.
Thank you.
Hello, Julie, if you could bring up the site plan that I have, would it be okay if I approach the screen?
Yeah, please.
All right, great.
The issue of the school bus stop up at this corner is the only way you can see the facility, and this corner along this entire railing up and around are all going to be fenced off. We're allowed to have a 6 to 8 foot barrier all the way to the front corner of the building. That will block the view of anybody, not just children, but anybody in this area. I feel that that meets the standards. It creates the burden of proof necessary.
That I've alleviated that concern. The attorney for Kindleaf Pendleton did his best to provide statements against the smell, which I feel I already addressed, and it is the same exact filtration system that his clients use in their facility. Brad Olson is the co-owner of the dispensary in question, Kindleaf Pendleton, that I used to manage with. He allows a business in the strip mall that functions primarily as a training facility for children to learn jujitsu and other martial arts. And that doesn't seem to present a concern to those business owners there. The bus stop is there. I recognize that, and I've done my best to prevent any of that of being an issue. One other individual brought up that he can smell grows all throughout that neighborhood. So if the children had a curiosity from a smell, I feel it may already have been addressed by the parents in that neighborhood due to local personal home growth cultivation. The concerns that Aaron Purchase, co-owner of Kind Leaf, brought up about vending. You can control the vendor flow if you see to it and do your best at it. You can control when they come by allowing hours of visitation, which is something that I did when I ran the facility, and you can withhold them from putting their product on the ground outside and have limitations and help them carry it in. There's a lot of ways that our businesses do help the vendors get product inside without it becoming a problem. The one individual who brought up the house directly behind our facility, we've already spoken with them. They're totally fine with us being there. We have a great rapport with them, and we intend to keep it that way. We had one other individual talk about how the smell of Ghost Town Organics was unbearable to the neighborhood. It was a direct contradiction to another member's testimony that they didn't notice Ghost Town Organics' presence there, and they're both members of the same neighborhood. I think the odor argument is a null point with the presentation that I provided, providing filtration inside the facility. That odor argument will not exist. It will not be an issue, and I will do everything. And you could even set a condition of permitting that I do that and maintain that. I believe a few members of the Planning Commission have actually stepped foot around and inside Kind Leaf Pendleton before to visit it and see it, and I'm sure they're well aware that the odor isn't present outside of the facility. As for the issues of high desert cannabis on the other corner, some business owners do not manage their customer base well. They may not pay attention to the outside of their facility. I do. I did at Kind Leaf Pendleton, and I did not allow people to consume product on site because that is a direct violation of a license from the OLCC, and it can be removed if you do allow that, whether you realize it or not. So we had surveillance in the parking lot, which I intend on having again, where we see it and immediately disperse it. As for being a pot shop capital, there are 4 currently existing facilities. Ours presents a 5th, and I would like to present the notion that it is far fewer than the alcohol establishments we have in Pendleton, Oregon. The alcohol establishments in Pendleton, Oregon provide different risks than we do, including the risk of driving under the influence, which is a higher rate of jeopardization of safety of the children in the neighborhood if a bar were to remain there open. I think I've provided a decent rebuttal to any and all of the presented testimonies by the concerned citizens that surround me, and I hope that they understand that I have done my best to consider all of these things and have presented viable and reasonable ways to disseminate these concerns if I am allowed this conditional use permit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I've taken a moment to look over this document from the applicant, and I didn't find anything else inside of the document that I deemed to be of any great significance. Do you believe that it's worthwhile for the rest of the commission to, you know what, I'm just going to answer that question myself. Never mind. Would the commissioners please take 3 minutes just to quickly look over this document? Mr. Prenzler did cover the majority of it, but I think there could potentially be other testimony in here. And if we're going to put the entirety on the record, then I think we should consider it before we start our deliberation.
While we're reading, if anyone wants to take a bio break during the 3 minutes, this might be an opportunity to do that.
Can I stand up?
Had a 3-minute break.
I lost my first page.
It's falling asleep. Bless you.
Yep. That season.
Thank you for calling for a break. I appreciate it.
Sure. The vice chair is full.
I ran home really quick because it's fast. Thank goodness. I said I ran home to feed the cats before this meeting was. Eating this late.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing. Oh, it is, yeah. It is. There is that wash.
Well, I mean, because the street doesn't obviously doesn't get paved, ODOT, catch basin.
Okay.
Low spot.
Yeah.
And ODOT put the catch basin over by the 45-mile-an-hour sign.
Oh.
Okay, and that's what the city's gonna have to do is, you know, fix the problem, which is put a catch basin over there by that there. Cause that just, it puddles in the street right there.
Okay. Is it better for the state?
For Julie.
I can send stuff.
Well,
Longer time.
no, we're not. So no, that's not our street. It's not our problem.
I'm saying she is.
fix it, I guess.
I mean, because there is no storm sewer on, there's no storm line on Sydney, but there is on Highway.
You know where Julie went?
She's in the bathroom.
By using the restroom real quick.
Good idea.
Here she comes.
Julie, would you heard some of the participants back in here?
Call the meeting back to order. Okay. Previously, I said that the chair may hear additional testimony, and I'm going to do that. I think there's enough questions here that I'm not sufficiently finished with, and so I would invite the applicant to take the stand if you would, and restate your name and address for the record.
Applicant's name is Brandon Crumbler, 15 Southeast Immigrant, number 603.
Okay, you wish to continue your rebuttal?
I had not a rebuttal, just a statement to make. Vice President here asked a question about 8 a.m. being a consideration. I said yes to. I'd like to point that out from the attorney's testimony. When he put his slide up, it said the last morning bus stop pickup was at 7:45 a.m. So I feel that a condition of opening at 8 a.m. is appropriate, would alleviate that concern in the morning time.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Okay. The one that is on my mind right now is this odor issue. This commission takes into account a lot of different factors, absolutely, and we hear testimony on a lot of different things. The most direct impact I can see here is this odor question. Now, I don't know exactly about the wording that's currently in our code. Your testimony, make sure I have the testimony accurate before I move into deliberation. Your intention is to use the same product that does the odor abatement at your previous facility. Is that correct?
Yes, what that is a carbon filtration system that was designed for cultivation facilities during the illegal times of cannabis to hide the odor from the neighborhoods and authority figures. And they have been developed highly since then to help eliminate odors as well as mold and other contaminants in a facility. It draws in air through a vent. At Kindleaf, I had, I think, 5 or 6 carbon filtration fans throughout the facility, all drawing from different areas, cycling the air through a filter and putting it back out into the facility to eliminate the odor, to purify the air for the staff, and myself, so we don't have to sit in it all day, because sometimes you can smell product when you're doing vending and opening jars. You won't be able to smell it outside, and that's not something that you can smell outside of Kindleaf Pendleton. And I made sure of that because I was the first facility in Pendleton, Oregon, and I wanted to prove myself to this community. I will be employing that same exact filtration system, albeit maybe a little bit more advanced as time has gone on since then, and devices have changed and gotten technologically better.
Is there any further questions for this applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Is that all from me?
All right. Julie, is it appropriate for staff questions?
Yes, you can ask that question.
Perfect. Is it appropriate to do that now or close the public hearing?
Is it part of your deliberation?
Part of my information gathering.
Then I would do it now.
The use of, I don't have the exact wording in front of me, but I think the odor one was objectionable. The word is, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's objectionable odors would remain within the property.
Yes.
To the best of staff's knowledge, City of Pendleton, do we have any complaints for objectionable odors outside of facilities? Does that happen? Is that a thing that,
Staff has not received any complaints regarding odor outside of any marijuana dispensary, nor did we receive it from the Grove facility.
okay? And, bus stops came up a lot during this this application. Are bus stops discussed anywhere within the code that's applicable here? I read the code and I don't recall seeing bus stops being, I mean, there's schools and other facilities and parks, et cetera, but I don't see bus stops. Is that
When the
a
commission,
criteria that needs to be considered?
when the commission reviewed marijuana and set the criteria, they discussed bus stops and they decided that bus stops can be moved. Meaning that the kids can choose to be picked up at a certain location that they weren't last year. And because bus stops can be mobile or moved, that it was not going to be a consideration for marijuana stores.
Okay.
Are there any bus stops along where Thurs is?
There is a bus stop at the top of the viaduct, which is 13 and Fort. And I think Thurs is at 16th, so it's 3 blocks.
Okay. I've driven out that way and seen kids picked up at various locations. They'll come down from up.
Correct.
So there might just be a single student or something.
There is also another one at, it's actually kitty corner to Thurs, now I think about it, on, I think that's 19th and Court. It's where the end of the property where the St. Anthony's Hospital used to be.
And how many feet would you say that is from Thurs? Yes, I'm just guessing.
Maybe 100 feet.
So roughly the same, maybe a little further,
Yeah,
65 feet,
yes.
100.
Yes, and I'll point out to explain also about the bus stops being mobile. These bus stops don't actually have a sign telling the students to stop there. The bus driver has been polite enough to pull over at certain locations where kids seem to congregate. And those are 2 locations where kids are starting to congregate. And so they have made those bus stops.
Would you say that maybe, depending on the school year where kids are, bus stops would change?
I would.
Whose responsibility, what procedures used to move a bus stop?
I have no idea, again, since bus drivers are picking up kids where they congregate, whether that is a known bus stop or not. I have no idea.
That's not a condition the commission can entertain. Or is it?
I would find it very difficult for the commission to require the kids to move their location.
So the school district does not set the location of a bus stop?
Not to my knowledge, simply because I see kids congregating in areas that I would not ever consider a bus stop, such as the corner of 19th and Court.
Yeah, I don't know the answer. There's a number of folks in the audience saying it is the school district's responsibility, but
it could very well be.
Any further questions for Julie before I close the public hearing? I close the public hearing and Planning Commission will deliberate. Okay.
It seems to me the two main things that people are objecting to, besides maybe morally thinking that they are opposed to a hot shop as opposed to a bar or tavern, which would be the same, is the smell and the school bus. And both of those seem to have been addressed. I mean, there's precedent set from THRS that there's a bus stop close by.
I think you're right. I think the first thing we're gonna need to do is start at the top, working down and making some findings. And normally I don't do this, but I'm going to begin that finding making process.
Oh, I can do that.
Yeah, let's start, if you would, let's start there and we'll go from there.
Okay. So I'd like to make 3 findings. I find that the location of this proposed cannabis retail facility meets the criteria because it is within a zone that allows marijuana retailers. That's C3 service commercial. Number 2 is the proposal is more than 1,000 feet from any other marijuana facility. Number 3, it is more than 1,000 feet from any public or private school, park, community recreation facility attended primarily by persons under the age of 18. Noting that Washington Elementary School is 3,900 feet away.
Does any commissioner have any objection to any of those findings? Okay. I would propose that we adopt those 3 findings initially. Any objection to that?
That was my proposal.
Without objection, motion carries.
Who seconded?
I'll second.
Seconded by Hudson.
And we did close the public hearing, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. I think you're right, Commissioner Mueller, if you'd like to make any findings in regards to the 2 areas that you deemed to be of most importance in the testimony process.
Oh, I'm going to state that. I guess I'm just saying that I'd like to make a finding that based on the ventilation system proposed, that the smell of the product will not be objectionable. And the school bus stop, due to the fact that the school bus stop close to another dispensary, is not a condition.
Because
it's been.
It can be properly mitigated.
Yeah.
Through conditions.
Through condition.
Yeah. Is there a second?
I will.
You go.
Seconded by Commissioner Hatfield. Are there any objections or discussions to
I
the
object.
finding?
No discussion, I object.
Do you care to state your objection?
I don't believe that the bus stop and also the ventilation was convincing.
Okay. Yeah, so the thing there, I've been trying to formulate my thoughts on that as well, Vincent, or Commissioner Popol. The thought that I'm having about the odor in particular is that through mitigation, the objectionable part of it has been shown to be mitigated previously. We already have 4 marijuana retail facilities, and testimony seems to indicate that there have not been any objections made to any odors coming from those facilities. So I think through conditions like the odor abatement systems that have been discussed here tonight, odors can be dealt with through conditions. But your objection is noted. So with that objection, I will poll the commission on the finding. Commissioner Hudson,
Whether I say yes.
if you agree with the finding of Commissioner Moeller, say yes. If
Yes,
you
I do.
disagree,
I do.
say no. Commissioner Popol,
No.
Commissioner Moeller,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Curran says yes as well. Finding is approved. Commissioner Hatfield.
I find that the proposed marijuana facility meets the criteria concerning the structure proposed because the proposed structure will have a solid wall and roof line windows no greater than 2 feet in height, creating a barrier between the interior operations and the exterior such that the interior operations are completely blocked from viewers from the outside. Number 2, the applicant has testified that that they intend to put up a fence and landscaping that along the north, east, and south of their property, and not along Highway 11, and not obviously through the entrance and exits, the 2 of them. So my finding is that these the landscape and the obscuring fence barrier will protect the public view from the cannabis operation. This combined with the solid wall, high window structure, and the containment of all product inside the building will protect the public view.
Two findings.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hatfield and seconded by Commissioner Moeller. Is there any objection or discussion to the 2 findings that were just made? Okay, hearing none, I will poll the commission. Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Popol,
No.
Commissioner Moeller,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Curran is also yes. Okay, access points came up in testimony multiple times. I'm gonna make a recommendation that we make an amendment to staff recommended condition number 8 by striking beginning at, but entrance shall be restricted to employees in 2 axle delivery vans. And the reason I am, well, first of all, can I get a second?
I'd second.
Been moved by the president and seconded by Commissioner Moeller. The reason I offer that amendment is through testimony, I became a proponent of the idea of reducing the potential number of cars trying to enter and exit onto Highway 11 directly from one entrance. The idea that there being a stop sign at that corner, I think is a positive, with vehicles leaving that property before entering onto Highway 11, having a stop sign there, I think is a positive thing to have. Is there any other further discussion about this amendment? No. I'm going to pull the commission again. Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Popol,
No.
Commissioner Mueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Curran is also yes.
I have another condition.
There's another condition.
Finding
14.
Not a finding. I think it's a change of condition number 14, staff recommended conditions number 14.
Oh,
The applicant has suggested that they would be willing to have their business open at 8 a.m. and then close at 10. And I believe that would reduce, it would deconflict concerns about with young people getting on buses at prior to 8 o'clock. They will hopefully be gone by the time the business opens. So I'd like it to read, it'll open at 8 a.m. and to 10 p.m.
okay. Is there a second for changing the hours of operation in number 14 to 8 to 10 p.m.?
I'll second that.
Been moved by Commissioner Hatfield, seconded by Commissioner Hudson. Is there any discussion on the topic?
I did have one, he did said hopefully, so that doesn't alleviate the concern, as well as the afternoon drop off.
Yeah, I don't have a condition for the afternoon. It's just for change it from 7 to 8. And the applicant said that they were willing to do that, so I'm putting that in as a condition. I don't know if the applicant can't change their application right here on the spot, can they? So I just didn't say it out loud that it's a condition that we set, that they open at 8.
They open it.
Say open at 8
Got it.
instead of 7.
Any further discussion on that?
I think that having to close at from 3:20 to 4:10 or whatever would not be good for a business.
I don't know how much value would be involved in trying to do something like that anyway. It was testified to earlier that, well, not testified, but staff did inform us once again that bus stops aren't necessarily part of the code. That doesn't mean that children aren't part of the community and that we shouldn't try and mitigate as best as possible the downsides of having an adults themed place like this. But
I believe the attorney made an argument about that as well. But we're voting on whether this is agreed between opening up between 7 and 8. That's all we're agreeing.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, pulling the commission on amendment to number 14, staff recommended condition, Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Popol,
Yes.
Commissioner Mueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Curran also yes. Amendment is approved.
He did was an amendment also. Yeah. The change to number 8, that's an amendment.
Yeah,
Okay. Thanks.
yep. Okay, I am going to make another finding here. I found no indication that any kind of drive-through was proposed as part of this application. And in addition, through testimony, I heard that there were no indications that ODOT had concerns about the change in use at this site and having an appreciable effect on the amount of traffic. And that no further study was deemed appropriate.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been seconded by Commissioner Hatfield. Does anybody have any objection or discussion on that topic? Okay, hearing none, I'll pull the commission. Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Popol,
Yes.
Commissioner Mueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Curran also yes. Okay. Any other discussion on this matter? From you? No. Commissioner Popol?
I'm good.
Commissioner Hudson, anything? Okay.
Okay. Ready for the decision?
Yes, go ahead.
I move the commission adopt the findings and conclusions prepared by staff and as amended by the commission. Specifically, staff recommendation 8 will now read: a driveway entrance may be provided on Northeast Riverside Avenue, period. And condition number 14 at the top of page 3. Hours of operation are limited to 1/2 hour after elementary school bus pickup on any given day.
Let's start with findings and conclusions first.
Okay,
Commissioner Hatfield, let's start with findings and conclusions first.
okay. No amendments.
We'll get to amendments.
Okay, well, those two are amendments. So I'll go back to where I was. Okay, I'll start over.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yeah.
No, we're talking about all the findings that we agreed to at one time, correct?
Yes.
Well,
about the
I have
findings
an
that were
assumption that what is,
Correct.
I have an assumption that what is coming is an adoption of all of the findings
All
and
which listed. Going to go on.
Yes.
I got it.
I'll start over.
and I'm going to separate the
apologies.
question.
Okay. I move that the commission adopt all the findings approved by the commission and the conclusions prepared by staff. And that forth in action, CUP 26-03 above.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded that the commission adopt the findings and conclusions prepared by staff and this. Did you include this commission in your motion? He did?
Yeah.
Okay. And this commission during this hearing. Is there any discussion? Pull the commission, Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Popol,
No.
Commissioner Mueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Curran is also yes.
Who seconded that?
I think I did.
Mr. Mueller.
Yeah.
Commissioner Mueller.
Writing notes.
Okay. So now I'll say,
Yep.
I move that the commission adopt the amendments as agreed on by the commission during deliberation at this hearing.
Numbers.
Yeah, involving number 8 of the conditions, staff recommended conditions, and number 14.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved by Commissioner Hatfield, seconded by Commissioner Mueller that we adopt the amendments to staff recommended conditions number 8 and 14 adopted at this hearing. Any discussion on that? I'm going to pull the commission, Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Popol,
Yes.
Commissioner Mueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Curran is also yes. Motion carries.
Lastly, I move that the request for a conditional use permit to operate an OLCC licensed cannabis retail facility within the Service Commercial Zone C3 as set forth in action CUP 26-03 be approved based on the information, findings, and conclusions set forth above and amended by the commission, subject to the conditions of approval as agreed upon by the commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Hatfield, seconded by Commissioner Mueller, that we approve CUP 26-03. Is there any discussion on this topic? Seeing none, I'll pull the commission. Commissioner Hudson,
Yes.
Commissioner Popol,
No.
Commissioner Mueller,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Curran is also yes. Motion carries. Thank you all. All right. Julie, I apologize. We're not going to get to talk about the furtherance of our other topic. I am tired.
I would like us to discuss the comments on design standards for middle
Yeah,
housing.
let's have a city planner report.
Okay. So we will postpone the matrix. Staff has not had time to work on it either, so didn't have anything to bring forward for you. But there is a comment period that is active currently. It will expire before the next planning commission meeting. They are proposing to remove design standards for middle housing for 20 units or more. So the summary is essentially certain design standards will no longer be applicable to middle housing.
Who's they?
The state.
Oh, the state.
Yes,
Oh.
the state. Yep. They are proposing to remove design standards, residential design standard for any residential development that is 20 or more residential units. So Senate Bill 934, I believe. It says that a local government may not apply residential design standards to an application for development of housing unless a multifamily structure. That is what they want to remove. They would like to remove design standards for multifamily structures as well. Would not apply to setbacks, building height, accessibility, fire ingress, egress, public health and safety, and then environmental issues as well. What do they mean by design standards? They mean the facade, roof, accessories for entry doors or garages, window elements, fence, or fencing, I should say, architectural details, size and design of porches or balconies, a variety of design or variety of floor plan, front or backyard area landscaping, and then a residential unit means single unit dwellings, manufactured dwellings, units of middle housing, and then it will also be multifamily housing as well.
They mean all those things that we spent so many hours talking about.
That is correct. So if there's a comment that anyone here would like to make, you can either make it into the record and I will forward that as our comments, or you could send an email, but I do not have very many days left in the comment period.
So they just
Local government may not apply any at all design standards on any type of housing.
On any type of housing in regards to facade, roof, entry doors, garages, window elements, fencing, so forth, but we still can for setbacks, building height, accessibility, fire ingress, egress, public health and safety, and of course, the environmental.
Is that for every zone?
Any zone that allows residential uses. It's for any residential project that is 20 units or more. It's currently any single unit as well.
Huh.
So it would be everything.
Does that violate the universal building code?
No.
I mean, because I could just put plywood up on my roof and say, I don't need shingles and,
No, you would still have to meet building codes, but we couldn't dictate that it has to be
Attractive.
shingles versus metal.
We couldn't, what about, and we couldn't require there was a garage, or can we?
We still can.
Instead,
Whenever we have a requirement for it, if it's universal, meaning any single unit has to have a garage, then all single units have to have a garage.
okay,
If I want my roof to be made out of cardboard, that's fine.
No,
it's a
so you
building.
still have to meet building codes.
Okay, gotcha.
So this would be the things such as, we have a requirement now that you have to have either a decorative finish below the windows or a side light next to your door, or an 8-foot patio out the front, or recessed front door, things like that. All of that would be gone. The A through Q, I think, is what we have, where they have to pick 3.
Yeah, okay.
So, I mean, think of literally a shoebox with a door in the front.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
That is now allowed.
I'm thinking 1982 Russian architecture.
Yes, does not have to have an
I mean,
overhang.
even military barracks would look better than what we're talking about.
But they could, I mean, you could do the other stuff.
And that's what.
But
Yes,
you could-
they still can design their house that way. We cannot
You can't
require.
require.
letting the
So
marketplace dictate
If we were
who buys it or not.
Leavenworth, Washington, and had a requirement that we have a alpine type, we couldn't do that.
Correct.
Correct,
Or a Western style.
correct. Or a log cabin. Yep.
Right.
That includes in historic districts.
Yes.
That would be a good comment.
Does that include tiny homes?
It would include any single unit.
Right, because the tiny home is then, because right now we don't allow tiny homes.
So what is your definition of a tiny home? Are you meaning a house on a chassis?
I mean,
Or are you meaning a small square footage?
well, it's actually multifamily structure, so a family that lives in there in a
So
you know.
essentially what will end up happening is you can apply design standards to any dwelling that has 5 units to 19 units.
So single family doesn't matter. I mean, it's a tiny home wouldn't hold 5 separate units.
A tiny home, I have no idea. A single unit is a single family dwelling. That's the same thing. But you can't say the word family anymore. Now you have to say unit. Because a duplex is no longer a 2-family dwelling. It is a dwelling in a dwelling, or it is a dwelling attached to a dwelling.
Units.
Huh.
Vincent, do you remember this conversation from like I think the early Joseph Hole days when didn't we decide that, we're just gonna make it, you only have to choose a couple of things. You don't have to go all out, but it's just.
Yeah, 3
Yes.
out
We
of,
had to do 3 out of 12 or
Like
3 out
Joe
of 14.
really liked eaves, he really
Yeah,
loved
did.
eaves.
and I can tell you that the majority of houses meet those because they have an overhang. They enclose the soffit, and then the third one is really the only one that makes the difference between them. However, with this new law, we can't require an overhang, we can't require a closed soffit, we can't.
Can't require any of it.
Any of it.
So I'm not.
None
sure
of it.
what
Not even
broke-
one of them.
I don't, what's the need to do this? What is?
So it's all because the state of Oregon is trying to find the way to build the cheapest houses possible. Because they believe that the only reason we're going to fulfill our housing detriment or deficit is by building cheap houses so people can afford to buy them.
Fair enough.
That's the basis of this law. And so what you guys need to do is you need to sit down and think about how is that detrimental to a community? If that philosophy is detrimental to a community, you need to write a paragraph or 2 about why, so that we can present that to the state. Say, listen, our commission thought about this, and this is detrimental to our community for these reasons.
Did you want a statement tonight, Julie, or?
You can either make it tonight or you can make it by Wednesday.
Okay,
I think this is the entire group. And when,
yeah, I don't know how we're gonna collaborate on a statement. How about a general direction? Thought here is that we have pretty minimal design standards already, requirements. We did work hard on trying to come up with a long list of things to choose from to try and add a little bit of character and charm to our town rather than, you know, go the direction of cheap shoe boxes,
Mhm.
et cetera, that type of an idea. I don't know what the proper.
But yet you gave opportunities, so there was choice to try to select which most cost-effective options you could use. I mean,
I bet Joseph Hull probably already wrote this paragraph for one of his deliveries to the city council. Maybe Joseph's already got this.
let's see, I think the crowd tonight, huh?
So unless somebody objects, maybe we can already find some material that's in the proverbial can. I hope, and if not.
I would approve of any statement that you made.
I second that.
All right, I have a note to myself to.
I mean, if any of you have any, statements or.
The statement that I make, the statement that I make will be limited to one paragraph. And I will deliver it to Julie via email with everyone here CC'd. If you have any objection to the statement, please.
Or add things to it, and then we'll collaborate it. We can try to do a collaboration and.
We can try and do a collaboration.
I have one condition.
All right.
I would like you to avoid colorful cowboy metaphors.
Colorful.
Better findings?
Yeah, exactly.
No. That's just the condition.
Oh, a condition, that's you saying.
All right, no metaphors of any Western nature.
Right.
No, man.
Okay, homework assignment, thank you. And,
That's what you did.
and the other thing is the matrix is
And that will be postponed.
postponed for, just for tonight.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, depends on how busy we
All
are
right.
for next
Thank you,
one.
Brian.
At 9:37. I'm gonna skip everything else. Okay, so at 9:37, I am declaring the April 9th, 2026 meeting of the Pendleton Planning Commission closed.